Kia ora. Thanks for tuning in to the We Fucking Love Startups podcast, brought to you by Talent Army.
Hey everyone, Troy Hammond here, and welcome back or welcome to the We Fucking Love Startups podcast. Today is actually a special series that we're going to be pushing out over the next couple of months. We're currently sitting at the Sunrise Festival or the Sunrise Conference by Blackbird. It's a conference for founders to hear the stories of other founders and really help network, uplift, read the playbook and hear the playbook from other founders. So it's quite a unique series that we're pushing out. They're going to be shorter episodes, 30-minute episodes, really amazing guests, and so I hope you really enjoy them. On this episode, we're chatting with Jodie Imam. Jodie is the co-founder of Tractor Ventures. Tractor Ventures is a different play than traditional VC funding. And so Jodie's going to talk us through exactly what they do, how they're helping businesses in Australia and New Zealand, and the community that they've built. I really love the term that we talked about on rockets versus tractors, and I think you're going to enjoy it too. So how did you get into Tractor in the first place then? Like, what's your backstory in terms of co-founding, Tractor Ventures?
Yeah, so I won't go through the whole thing, but, I did a marketing commerce degree, and then that sort of spat me out into the corporate world before I sort of used to ask questions about why I'm doing things. And, I just couldn't last in the corporate world at all. I was there 3.5 years and I just found it soul destroying. So at that time I ran away to the fashion industry. I thought that was a passion of mine. I thought I'd really love it. And I ended up working with the fashion designer Leona Edmiston. I was her general manager there for 9 years in the end, a lot longer than I expected to stay, but we were growing it year on year and we ended up with 100 staff and 25 stores around the world and around Australia, and so it was just very challenging the whole time. So I was just very interested.
I've met someone before that worked in the fashion industry and then went to tech startups, and they were like, the parallels are phenomenal. Like, creative, iterating, fail fast, moving fast. And so,
it's funny, And I learned so much, and it was all bootstrapped. Like we had some government grants, but otherwise it was just all, the revenue we're making, and it was constantly growing. So the cash flow, my head was in a spreadsheet trying to manage cash flow the entire time. So good lessons and disciplines, I think, from that. But I always wanted to start my own thing. That was kind of always bubbling there, and so I started having babies, and that was the time that I thought, well, I can break away now and start something. So I started a marketplace back in 2012 called Occasional Butler, and it was to get small jobs done around the home and office, which we had. My husband at the time and I had that problem renovating our home in Annandale in Sydney, and so that was kind of the catalyst. We were just finding out about collaborative consumption and the shared economy, and we heard of TaskRabbit.
That's early, right?
Yeah, it was so early. Yeah, there was no one doing it here yet. And so we came across TaskRabbit in the US that were doing this model, and we're like, that's the model we want to do this with. So we went ahead and just built it and did it all the wrong way, and then found that we had this huge battle to try to educate the market to use a marketplace. And then Airtasker launched just after us, and they ended up acquiring us 3.5 years later.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that was good, and we also started one of Melbourne's first co-working spaces at that same time, and that was to sort of keep a roof over our heads while we're building this marketplace.
So started outsourcing tasks.
Yes.
Beat Airtasker in Australia, then beat WeWork in Australia.
Yeah, a bit ahead of the curve. Yeah. We thought, again, we're looking at trends in the States and saw this idea of co-working. We loved it. We actually were working in a shared office for a little while in Paran where we live, and just loved the whole concept and met people there and all that sort of stuff. And so, but once we'd launched and said we're Depot 8 co-working, we weren't getting any traction. So we had to put the language back to shared office, just because people just didn't understand what co-working was. So
wow,
a little bit ahead of the time. But we had that business for 8 years, and it ran profitably, and it was great. We'd almost nearly sold it, and that fell through, and then COVID hit, so we had to close it down, unfortunately. But it was a great little business for a while.
So obviously quite entrepreneurial then from the get-go. And so,
yes.
So did Tractor form because of the challenges that you had in previous opportunities? Like were you thinking about it earlier?
Well, sorry, I didn't even answer your question. So after we sold Occasional Butler, then I got invited to mentor and do different things in the ecosystem, and I ended up leading one of the accelerators called SBE, which supports women-led business. And so that's kind of, and I also set up Innovation Bay in Melbourne. It was already established in Sydney, but the guys wanted to set it up in Melbourne. And so I was running events and just doing a lot of out there ecosystem networking events stuff. And that's when I met Matt. He came to he'd come often to the Innovation Bay events, and so that's how we met. And then we've also been like advisors for startups together, so we've known how each other works and got along. And so when it was actually Matt's idea, he was just finished up at AWS, and he was thinking about how do we help startups like with funding, because not everyone fits the VC model. Like hardly anyone fits the VC model.
Especially in this current market, right? And so,
well, that's right. So he was pondering that, and he, with his ex-wife April, they wanted to start working together. But
they wanted to start working together after they were already ex and...
No, they weren't ex yet.
I was like, well, that's a great relationship, ex-relationship.
It actually is. We're still, they're working really well together. But they knew between them that they needed someone else to kind of run the thing. Like our skill sets are all very different. So that's when Matt reached out to me and said, what are you doing next? And told me about it. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm doing next.
Awesome. Awesome. So what is, for people that don't know what Tractor Ventures is, what is Tractor Ventures?
Yeah, so it's alternative capital for founders, and we talk about, I'll explain Tractor because, we talk about rockets and tractors, and the rocket is the VC model and very exciting, and some of them land on the moon, but also very expensive, and a lot of them blow up along the way. And so we've seen that firsthand with a lot of founders where it just hasn't worked. And so what we want to do is really back the tractor. And so that's, founders who are building their businesses sustainably in the pace that they want to build it. If you said to a farmer, I'm sorry, we're going to take your tractor away now, she or he's probably going to get a bit upset about that because they come to rely on that. And so that's what the founders that we're supporting have built. They've built software that their customers are really now reliant on, and they've grown their business typically with revenue. So they've been bootstrapped, or they might have taken some seed investment, but now they just want to keep ownership of their company and not sell too many shares, and so they use our finance.
And not feel the pressure of new metrics straight
exactly.
away.
Grow it at their own pace. And if they want to sell their business in a few years' time for $50 million, that's probably a great outcome if they still own most of the business. Whereas on the VC model, that's not. There's no way.
They're probably own 11%, right? If you're selling for $200 million.
Well, also the VC won't let you exit then, because they need it to get over to $1 billion so that everyone gets paid back. So, it's much more conducive to running the business the way you want to run it and getting the exit that you want to get. And so it's debt effectively. So we give business loans. How
do founders take that when they haven't heard of that model before? Like what's the usual question?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I was talking to every single founder that called in the early days, and it was very much curious. Like, tell me what this is. Like, how do I use it? And I think debt can sometimes have a bit of a,
bad connotation.
Yeah, exactly. And it brings in childhood association with money and all sorts of stuff. But this is, it's not a credit card. You're not using a credit card to buy a TV. You're actually using efficient capital for certain purposes. So it really works if you're wanting to increase your revenue through advertising, or you might put a new salesperson in that's going to bring in new revenue. That's when it really works very well. Like, you wouldn't sell shares to hire a salesperson because they're going to bring in revenue, and that's going to pay back that money. So
I imagine it works really well with supply chain companies too that are looking to manufacture and grow faster. Like they've already got deals in the pipeline there, and they just need to build them right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's actually so we do sort of a typical sort of loan, like a standard kind of principal and interest loan that is quite flexible. We're looking at the stability of the company as it is now, but also where it's going. And so as opposed to banks, which are only looking at historical and what bricks and mortar they can secure it against, we're looking at the opportunity. And so we understand tech companies a lot better. And then we've got we call it inventory advance, which is another type of structured loan for exactly that, like companies that are wanting to buy parts to keep building, or even e-commerce companies that are wanting to buy stock to just keep selling it. So
excellent. So what do you think the advantages are then of like financing through Tractor versus VC? Like what would you say the big things that people are saying to you are?
Well, it's that keeping the ownership of your company, and just of your destiny.
What collateral do you need?
We just have a PPSR hold on the company, which is very light.
Yep.
So there's no director's guarantee or personal guarantee. So effectively unsecured lending.
Yeah. Well, sounds good for a lot of founders.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Yeah, no one wants to have their house on the line. And I think it's the flexibility and being able to keep the ownership of the company and not have to, with the VC model, there is a lot of expectation on what you do with that money. So
So when I was looking into Tractor, I was really surprised by your numbers, and surprised by how fast you accelerated versus what you thought.
Yes.
And so can you talk me through that? Because it sounds like it was like. You had a bit of a guess on, hey, this is where it's probably going to land year one, and then it went woof.
Yeah, I know. Well, finally, I've got the timing right.
Perfect time.
Yeah, that's right. We actually didn't know. We thought maybe we'd back about 10 founders a year.
Yeah.
And then as you say, it's just gone whoosh. So we're up to about nearly 150 companies that we've funded, over $45 million out the door.
Wow.
So it has gone a lot quicker than we thought. But I think it was. We launched just before the downturn, and so there was that sort of curiosity at the start, but then that quickly became serious inquiry. How do I get this money? And so the timing's been excellent.
And so what do you look for? By the way, I love what you're doing with partnership and things now in the community. The Tractor, what was the term again? I can't remember.
Village?
What it was. The Village,
Yes,
really cool. Really cool.
Thanks.
This is I love it when companies are like, hey, I'm going to give back to the ecosystem and support it. Not just give the money or do these things, but do the the non-financial things as well, which are fantastic.
Thanks for that. It's a massive part of why we're doing what we're doing is to, we want to unlock possibilities for founders. So it's not just money that does that. It's all the support. And, we've got 130 investors in Tractor who are mostly exited founders, bootstrap founders. There's some angels in there and some family offices, but they're also at the point that they've had their success and they're happy to give back. And so we've got such a rich community of people that just we can tap into and help our founders because it's a roller coaster ride and it's not easy. So all the help is useful.
What would you say, if we're looking, so we've got a lot of people that are listening to this podcast at the moment or watching this podcast that are tried and tested founders, but we've also got people that work in the ecosystem. A lot of people, though, are just getting into the startup ecosystem over the last sort of 12 to 18 months.
Yep.
And they're looking at this time like, oh, shit, I've chosen the wrong time. And I keep saying, no, it's the right time. Trust me, it's definitely the right time.
Yeah.
What, from your experience, pre-Tractor and then now with Tractor, what simple advice would you just say to companies that are trying to bootstrap now and are trying to grow, and how would you say what things should they do?
Yeah, I think I love talking to founders early on, and I think one thing to consider is what's the journey you want to go on? And where do you ultimately want to be with this business and in your life first?
So thinking exit or thinking...
Think about the exit. Yeah. Because if it is a $50 million exit and you own 80% of the company, then that's a different path altogether than going on the VC path. So that's one thing. I think also revenue is the best form of early capital. It's by far the best. You need to know if someone's going to pay for what you've built. And then I think it is a good opportunity. There are many, many more angels. As our ecosystem matures, people like myself, we've exited now and we've been in this game a long time, and now we're investing in new startups. And so that keeps happening, that virtuous cycle. So I think there's more investors now, and it's just finding, in the early days, it's finding that right investor, that right angel that just is passionate like you are about that, what you're doing, about your cause. And you can find them. You've got to really go looking, I think.
Yeah, especially places like today, right, where we're currently sitting at, Sunrise, Blackbird Sunrise, and there's so many people you can meet. There's lots of VCs, lots of PE, lots of ventures. And
I also think it's useful talking to VCs, and they're keen to talk to everyone because they're very smart, curious people, and they'll give great tips usually. They'll say, have you thought about this, this and this? And I often think that's, even if you're not the right fit, it's, you're going to get some great advice usually. Yeah,
definitely so. What things did you fuck up in your career that you wish you did differently, apart from not nailing the timing perfectly, but obviously
no, there's so many fuck ups. The biggest one was that we went ahead and built this marketplace. without any customer input at all. Like it was just, we just had developers. We spent 3 months scoping it. Then we spent 6 months building it. Every single feature, like it was over-engineered, and just no input. So by the time we launched, and finally started getting customers, we had to unpick so much of it and then rebuild. And it was actually could have killed us because we nearly ran out of money and we hadn't got the marketing machine going yet. So we're just lucky that we sort of got a flywheel working before we ran out of money.
Yeah, that's definitely
so that was a big one.
Yeah, start small and iterate, right?
That whole thing, that MVP, can't say it enough.
Yeah, but it's hard though, especially non-technical founders, right? That are coming with an idea. They I spoke to a founder last week who was like, "Hey, I built this thing. I've got 48 different features on it already and 0 customers." I'm like, man, just get one out there. And,
that's right.
Yeah,
well, and back then there wasn't as much technology now. Like there is, you can hack together, But if we could have too. We could have had just a homepage and a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
We could have easily started on that. We just didn't.
Yeah. I think that's the era that we're going to see now is the bootstrapped little founders and spreadsheets behind a beautiful marketing page. And,
that's right. And I spoke to a founder last week too, 2 women founders who have taught themselves how to code enough to use the tools that are there.
Especially with no code and stuff now,
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Hey, so I wanted to talk to you about women founders because I know that's something you're particularly passionate in.
Yes.
Do you think we're in that era now where people, like women, can finally just go out and do whatever the fuck they want? Or do you think we're still holding them back a little bit? Loaded question.
Yeah, it's such a tricky issue. But, I think there is. Go and do it, definitely. I do believe in just that, that mindset of just go and do it, and you can create opportunities for sure. And there are so many groups now that are investing in just women, and there are many more opportunities. I think there's still not as many, and we're seeing that in the numbers. Such a small percentage of women get the capital, and I think that because as you get sort of into bigger pools of money, it's still very male dominated, and there's still the issue that those investors just don't understand the problems that the businesses they're building are trying to solve. So there's still that disconnect. But I think now is definitely better than any other time.
Yeah, cool. And you've got a few on your portfolio here in New Zealand now, like some companies. Can you talk about some of those companies?
Yeah, well, we're actually doing a panel today with Melodics and Carbon Crop. So Joe from Carbon Crop and Sam, we're going to get up and talk about their journey. And
both
so
legends of New Zealand.
Yeah, they're awesome. Yeah. Our first NZ company was actually an e-commerce company called FrameFox. So George,
I've heard of FrameFox.
He was just a one-man band a couple of years ago. He'd built the whole thing himself, doing the framing, doing the e-com, doing the marketing, the whole thing. And so he was one of our first. English Farms, another one. Trail. Yeah, it's about probably 15% of our portfolio are based here.
Awesome. And what do you think the differences are between New Zealand and Australia?
I was talking about this last night, actually. I think that at the New Zealand Kiwi founders are more engaged with us.
Really?
It feels like, they're really using the support because we've got this massive amount of support we can give, but it's up to the founder if they want it or not, And so, I think that's one thing I've noticed, just definitely more engaged.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good to hear as an Aussie that's lived across both. Like I said, the good, bad, and the different, between both. And I think New Zealand is fast becoming a state of Australia. Sorry, Kiwis, but it is we're coming together a lot better, and regardless of 2 countries. It's topical news as of overnight because Barnaby Joyce is trying to say that New Zealand should be incorporated into Australia. I don't believe in that, but I think we should definitely get together closer on the ecosystem and expand from ANZ good to go global.
Yeah, I agree, definitely.
What do you think? Is there products or services or physical hardware that you think is going to be more prominent in the future? I talk to a lot of people at the moment, and people keep saying, "Oh, is SaaS, reaching its end? Is there, we're running out of ideas, and is it time to go to physical products again? Or with the environmental stuff now, we can build things." Is there things that you've noticed, or?
No, not really. I'm not yet. I don't know. I think still, I know that it's hard. With VC especially, I know founders building products often it doesn't fit the VC model, and so that's where SaaS is still preferable. And I think just because we're so conservative at the moment because of the downturn, I don't think there's the right appetite for different business models yet.
What would you be doing if you were founding a new business in this market right now? Talk me through what you would be doing now.
What sort of business?
What would you be doing regardless of what it was? Like, talk me through your approach in terms of how you would take this business forward if you you walk out of here and go, oh, I've got another idea.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I think one good learning from Tractor is we assembled a really good team first up. So I think that's really what's helped propel us very quickly.
And is that because you had capital to set up a team? Because this is the challenge, obviously, working in recruitment, right? I'll say, hey, you run an A+ team for a C+ budget, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Do you think the importance is getting enough capital at the start to be able to build the team first?
Yeah, well, we actually first thing we did was test whether someone would buy our products. So we got a couple of loans happening with our own capital, and then that was the first test, and there was an appetite there, and then we did go and raise some money, $2 million from a bunch of angels, and then got the team together, and then off we went. And
what are you thinking about when you're putting that early stage team together? Talk me through your thinking?
Yeah, so I mean, Matt's really, his superpower is all in the capital raising and the new ideas and what's next. He's got it on his arm tattooed, what's next. So he's always kind of thinking of the next thing. April's awesome at just all the operation processes, knowledge management. That's her background. Yeah. I'm the executor, the one that will drive the business and run the team and focus on revenue and growth. And then we met Kirsty Grant and Lance Hodges from here in Auckland. Or we knew them through the Startmate network, actually. Yeah. And Matt originally talked to them to see if they wanted to invest, and Kirst said, well, why don't you bring us on the journey? Awesome. And Kirst is an expert in people experience, and Lance is a product developer, and they'd been at Vend, and so their experience was like amazing for what we wanted to do. And then our chair, Darcy Norton, who also is a partner at Black Nova and has had lots of entrepreneurial and investor experience, and is a kind of finance and legal kind of head for us as well. So we sort of covered off a lot of the key areas. Yeah.
Awesome. What's your take on, like, I get asked this question a lot on, should I just hire my friends in because I know and trust them, or should I bring in people that have got fundamental skills in that area?
I mean, ideally you go for the skills you need. I mean, it's really worked so well for us to having, like, Kirst, her PX experience is vital. Like when we're building out our team and when we have rumbles and things that we need to deal with, and just having that experience just makes it very smooth and easy.
And her and Lance have seen multiple startups, right?
Yeah,
so
that's right.
They're not drawing all their experience from one play.
That's right.
That's so valuable.
Yeah, and it's the same for all of us. Like, we've all had multiple businesses before. We've all got war wounds, and all of that helps. Like we can pretty quickly decide what we're not going to do.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And so, what are you hoping to get out, say, at Blackbird? At Sunrise here?
Just I'm expecting to be talking a lot, meeting a lot of people. Just excited to meet a whole bunch of new people and see lots of familiar faces as well, which I've already bumped into people from Sydney.
Yeah, it's almost like a school reunion when you come to these things, right?
It's great. Yeah, it's great. So everyone's away from home, so it's fun. Yeah.
Go and have some drinks tonight. Yeah. Awesome. Hey, so if people want to go out and check out Tractor Ventures, like, where should they go? We'll obviously put some details in the show notes, but is there anything else they should do, or?
Yeah, tractorventures.com, everything's there. I think join our mailing list because we do lots of events ourselves, and we want to get out in the community as much as possible. If you have got some revenue and you're looking at funding options, I recommend definitely getting in touch, and we'll happily talk to you whatever stage you're at, really.
What sort of size we're talking about here? Like, how much investment?
Yeah, so we typically need founders to be doing $15,000 a month in steady revenue, and have been doing that for about 6 months at least. But if you're coming up to that, or you can see that, like, still get in touch, because I just really think it's important for founders to know the options as early as possible, so you can map it out.
Start the conversations.
That's right.
Early.
Start the conversations. Yeah. We'll very rarely. I don't think we've ever said no to a founder. We've just said not now. Like if it's just not quite right, there's not enough runway or not enough revenue or whatever it is, we'll just say these are the things we need to see, and then come back. And that founders do. So we'll then it's we're lending between about 30K is about our lowest lend, and 1.5 million is the most we've lent. So yeah, our average loan size is about 300K.
Yeah, cool. And what's the turnaround time like if someone applies tomorrow? What's the turnaround
we can
time?
have money in the bank within 2 weeks.
Oh shit, that's good. Yeah.
It doesn't always happen that way because there's a lot of information exchange, but we can move pretty quick. And once we've all signed up the agreement, then the money's within 24 hours. So
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, awesome. Hey, well, thanks so much for coming on. I've been hearing about Tractor for a long time, with Kirsten Lance, and I spoke to Olivia the other week. She's super
awesome.
lovely.
Yeah, great.
So
thanks for having us. It's
really
awesome.
loving what you're doing, and thank you for what you're doing to the industry. And I'm glad that you found something at the right time, and it's helping.
Thank you. Thanks for doing what you do. It's great to be able to talk about it.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, enjoy the rest of the day.
Thanks.
Cheers.
You too.
Thanks so much, Jodie. That was awesome. Hey, if this is your first time here watching or listening, this is your opportunity right now to jump on and follow, like, or subscribe. We're going to be pushing out a bunch more of these podcasts from today's episodes or today's sessions at Blackbird Sunrise Conference. And so jump on right now, subscribe, lock it down so you can see the next one coming out soon. Until then.
This podcast is produced by John O'Tucker from Empire Films.